Now, welcome to RPG Archive. We got a heck of a show today. We don't have a specific game to talk about, unfortunately. But make sure you check out SMT4. That was like a week ago. That was from Teddy and Alex. Great show. Fantastic. But today we're doing something a little different. We said we were going to do it, and now here we are, owning up to our promise, as we do. It's Q&A. And who better to have on our first Q&A than JD, or I should call you Lazy Justice now.
Yeah, you can call me either or. You get that privilege. Not everyone gets that. Give it to you. Something that's my De Niro. Something about you, huh?
I didn't know we were doing celebrity impersonations. But very good. You just put your first video out on Thursday. Am I right?
I believe so.
And it's about Streets of Rage 1. There are some Sega fans in the chat. So there are some cat fans as well. Good to see.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But what can you tell us? What is this video, and why should people subscribe to your YouTube channel?
Well, so the video is essentially a deep dive onto not deep dive, but a dive, as shallow as it gets for some games, into a often neglected element of gaming, which are bosses. So the purpose is really just to talk about that more so, bring those to light. Because a lot of people are like, oh, what's the story like? What's the gameplay like? But I mean, bosses are just as important. I think some of my favorite games have my favorite bosses in them, and it compounds the effect of those games. And I just want to make sure that we're giving credit where credit is due in those particular fields. There are certain games that prioritize specifically bosses. You know, Shadow of the Colossus is a good example. Or games that have just like minimal bosses, or maybe same themed bosses. You can look at the 2018 God of War. You know, with the main antagonist, as far as to repeat boss fights and how that also evolves over time too. So I really appreciate that stuff. In general, if you like that, you should check out that video as well as future videos I'm going to do. I'm going to complete the Streets of Rage franchise before we move on. Those don't necessarily have the most in-depth bosses, but still, it's fun to talk about. It's nice to take a trip down memory lane, and it helps me set up for bigger projects. So make sure you give it a subscribe, and we go from there.
And you have not released Streets of Rage 2 yet?
Streets of Rage 2 will be out next week. So Streets of Rage 1 is out right now. Streets of Rage 2 will be out middle-ish of next week. And then Streets of Rage 3, ideally, I mean, if I'm killing it, Streets of Rage 3 will be out also next week.
Whoa, dude.
So,
I realized I didn't know if you'd released the second one yet, and it's because I didn't hit the notification bell when I was on your channel. That was a mistake on my part.
gotta make sure you hit that.
Yeah.
I don't have a cool rhyme for that, but hit it to... Moving on. Moving on.
All right. Well, I got to pay some bills here. So real quick, I'm going to do an ad read. I got are you prepared for retirement? Have you set yourself up for financial freedom? Do you have a cat? If you answered yes to all of these questions, then why haven't you signed up for 401 Meow, the first retirement plan specifically for cats? Our feline friends want to retire just like the rest of us, so why don't we make it easy, simple, and affordable? You'll be surprised how little it costs to guarantee your cat's financial future. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.401meow.com and use the coupon code ARCHIVE to get an extra 1% contribution to your cat's 401k plan and start saving today. Remember, your cat has 9 lives and all of them should be invested in 401 Meow. So we got a hell of a Q&A today. Lots of questions. We're going to get deep into it. this is a first ever Q&A, so probably not as many as we were hoping for. But all the stars are here.
If you build it, they will come.
That's true.
So
remember to submit your questions in the Q&A section. I got some that were done outside of it, and to stick with the rules, I will not be referring to those questions. But thank you for submitting the questions you did. And are you ready to take a look at one?
Yeah.
Okay. Our first question is Alex of TurboZone. He asks, do you like pretzels? Okay. So when you're like, when you're in school, remember being in school?
Yes.
Okay. And when you were in school, the teacher would say like, remember, if any of you are struggling with this, I want you to ask questions because, and she said this phrase, there are yes, there are no bad questions. Do you remember? I remember when I was first told that, I was like, don't raise your hand because, but it's like, like I can think of 2 bad questions right now. Like I could just spew them out of my mouth right now. There are definitely bad questions. And that was one of them. Do you like pretzels? Is not a good question.
I'll answer it. Yes. but silly question.
What do you eat do you eat pretzels when you're on a video game binge?
When I'm gaming? No. I usually do sunflower seeds. The problem is though it'll make your teeth sensitive, so you have to have like certain like toothpaste for that shit. For that stuff, sorry. But outside of outside of that, I'll generally have, I know it's weird, but I'll usually have like a sort of cut of meat. So I might do like pepperoni, or I might have jerky or something like that. Something that's like, I mean, generally it's going to be really salty or whatever. So I'm not eating it just by the sleeve. It's just occasionally I'll take a bite of something. And I'll usually contrast that with like a beverage. I might have a Monster, and then I got my pepperoni. Easy day. I think that's a better question. What do you eat when you're gaming? What do you eat when you're gaming?
Well, I've got a pretty strict diet, but it would be like a bucket of chicken.
A bucket of chicken? Let me get that chicken. Hey.
Seriously, it's like I would
I ain't complaining.
I'll have like a plate of just chicken, and sometimes if I'm feeling frisky, I'll sprinkle cheese on it before I microwave it.
Oh man.
And then sometimes I'll have like chips with it.
You should just get like the fucking or the freaking salsa. The is it pocket or is it pace?
Pace.
It is pace?
Pace picante sauce.
Okay. Yeah, just get that. Sprinkle that over it, and you feel less guilt because it's like it's not really authentic, but at the same time it's adding flavor to your chicken, and it's
Pace picante sauce is my favorite. Anybody who knows me knows that I have like huge a huge jug of it, and I go through it rapidly.
It has the handle, right? That's the one with the handle?
Yes. My face has to have a handle on it.
Right? We are not the same. You eat salsa verde, my face has a handle. We are not the same. Oh man.
Do you remember the commercials for Pace?
No, I don't. I haven't watched TV in forever.
Back in the day, the Pace picante sauce, the commercials would be like, where does this come from? And they go, New York City. Like
what?
They're the only Mexican food company that leans into the fact that they're not Mexican.
Yeah.
Like they are like actively like, yeah, we're not fucking from Mexico, you sick fucks.
Right. There's nothing Hispanic or Spanish about our origins, but man, we are gonna exploit the fuck out of your salsa. That's some good shit. Some dude in New York traveled, I don't know, south as far as he would go to like, I don't know, West Virginia. And he had really bad Mexican food. He's like, this is popping. Let me take this back. He didn't go nowhere near Mexico. I ain't trying to get kidnapped. He didn't do any of that. He just went straight to fucking like as south as he felt comfortable.
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
barely anywhere.
I got this from down south, and it's
Like,
it's like yeah, Virginia.
you're like Texas, Florida, I guess. Texas, maybe Arizona. I don't know. Maybe Mexico. No, no. West Virginia, Mountain Mama. Oh man,
Well, I appreciated that level of
commitment.
transparency.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're like, we are not Mexican food.
But it's still good.
It's still great though.
You're gonna love it.
All right, next question. Friend of the show, Ophidian Mind says, would you like to see a press turn combat system be implemented and possibly expanded upon in games outside of the Shin Megami Tensei series? Do you like it when people only play one series of games?
I might have looked at the questions myself, and I was like, these are really specific questions.
Do you know what? Do you know what? Do you know what the?
No, I don't.
Because you don't play SMT. So Teddy from Majority, check out his channel. He explained it way better than I could. But essentially, the press turn combat system in the mainline, I'll just stick to the mainline SMT because they experiment with it. But it would be, so you have a party of 4, and you each get a turn. And it's important to note that each of their turns are like, you can see their turns on the screen. If you exploit your enemy's weakness with an attack, let's say they're weak to fire, and you hit a fire attack on them, it'll do extra damage, yes, but also more importantly, it will add a turn, so you can go again. Like your first character in the lineup, usually based on the agility stat, can go again. If you hit him with fire and he's resistant to fire, like he can block it or resistant, whatever, it removes a turn. So your last person loses a turn, based on their agility stat. And you can do this so like you could theoretically go twice for every single one of your characters in one turn. And that's the goal, is to stack turns. And it works conversely as well. So if your enemy does it, they also get that bonus. And then they also get that deficit as well.
Interesting.
And that's how you strategically maneuver through SMT.
And okay. I mean, that's interesting. Now, back to the question. Could you repeat that?
Would you like to see a press turn combat system be implemented and possibly expanded upon in games outside of the Shin Megami Tensei series?
I mean, the closest thing I could think of is Final Fantasy X does have its turn system like listed and shown, like whose turn's next kind of a thing. I know it's not the same as like what you're describing. I'm just trying to relate, to be honest. I would say no, because I think that makes that franchise more unique then. Because if you're putting it in something else, then it has the potential to become stale. Or the more games that are in it, it has more potential to be stale. Keep that uniqueness. Sure, could someone build on it? Yeah, but why not just keep it in-house and you guys build on it and make it more unique to your game as opposed to, other people picking it up and stuff.
Riot has an RPG. It's called Ruined King. And it's the combat system. I'm trying to find it. I'm trying not to use my computer to do this because I have so many windows up for serving a certain purpose. So it's making this a little bit difficult. Gameplay based on, and let's see what it says. God damn. Come on. I can't remember the name of the game it's based on. But if you play Ruined King and look it up, many people will tell you it's based off of a certain like Battle Masters or something. I think it's Battle Chasers. I think that might be what it's called. Battle Chasers. Let me look that up just to be... I want this podcast to be accurate at all times.
Comparing Ruined King to Battle Chaser.
Yeah,
it's Ruined King like Battle Chaser.
Yeah, it's Battle Chasers. Okay.
Yeah.
They have an they have a turn-based system where it's like everything's on a timeline, even though it's turn-based,
Okay.
and your moves can alter other people's timelines or push yours forward or do or hurt certain things. It's way complicated, and it kind of breaks my brain when I play the Ruined King one.
Yeah.
I enjoyed what I played with it, but I was like, I can't see myself doing this long term. This every fight has just so much going on that I kind of lose track of things.
Yeah.
But in a way, it's kind of similar to that, although obviously different. Yeah, I agree. I think SMT should keep that as, I mean, they have literally for like 30 years, but they should keep that to themselves and make that their niche. And I don't really want to see other people use it, although I'm sure they will, and I'm sure they have, and examples we just haven't thought of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good question. It'll let us explain turn, and now he and Teddy will tell me how wrong I am in the comments. And you know what? That's just great. Now we have to do another ad read.
Okay.
Okay. But I figured I'd pass this one over to you. We'll just alternate ad reads. Is that okay?
Sure. I don't have any of the material.
Yeah, I
I
send it.
have the
I send it.
material.
I sent it over to you.
Okay, you want me to read that?
Yeah, yeah.
Fuck. All right. Having trouble in the bedroom? I know I am. That's why I use Blue Chew, the newest and best pill to add a little pep in your step. There's no doctor visit required, and it's delivered discreetly right to your door. I love not waiting in line at the pharmacy, hearing the pharmacist call my name, and taking that walk of shame up to the counter. I've been a happy customer of Blue Chew for years now, and so is my girlfriend. Make sure to visit www.bluechew.com and use the coupon code ARCHIVE to get your first shipment free of charge. Just pay for shipping and handling, and that's it. I only get hard with Blue Chew, so give it a try today.
Okay. A little too much info there, dude. But all right.
Shut the fuck
Uh,
up.
Let's go on to the next question. Let's move on from that. Biophoenix here. He's asking, what RPG would you like to see get translated? And then in parentheses it says, in case you can't think of one, what is a fan translated game that you wish to try out?
I feel like those are two different questions.
Well, yeah, and I was gonna say this confuses me a little bit because I when I think of get translated, I think only of official
Mother.
translation.
I was gonna say mother, right? Wouldn't you want that translated?
Well,
Is it Mother 3?
hold on though. So again, we need to establish some rules on this question, right? Like I'm saying if I think of official translations, right? Is that what you
Okay.
think of?
Yeah,
But his second question puts a wrench in that because it says, in case you can't think of one, what is a fan translated game that you wish to try out? Like, do we mean any translation? Because like Mother 3 was fan translated,
yeah.
but not officially translated. So what's the rule here?
I would say official. Go
Okay.
official.
Official? Yeah, probably Mother 3. Maybe Dragon Quest 3 Jokers 3 on the 3DS. That would be a joy to play. I know fan translations exist for both of those, but I think that would be my pick. What about you, dude?
I believe it hasn't come out. I might be wrong. There, when I was younger, I played a Naruto tactical RPG. That was really, really engaging. I don't know if it's been released, but I beat it, and it was entirely in Japanese, and my brother was learning Japanese at the time, so it made it a little bit easier to navigate. Because he was just in it. I mean, we both loved Naruto growing up, but he was really into just like, oh man, that's Kagebushin and stuff. I would say that because if I didn't have those like hiccups, because sometimes I would make the wrong move and I'm like, shit. But if it didn't have those hiccups, that would be like that's a top 20 game for me. That was so much fun. That game was great. But again, it might have been re-released. I have not kept up with it, but at the time, it was on Game Boy Advance, and it was pretty solid.
Wow. I think that might be one way to actually get me to play an anime game, is if it was a tactics RPG.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you have to be preemptive and stuff. Like you have to like have your substitution jutsu like ready to go, and then like you'll get into a fight, or you'll engage with an enemy or get close enough to hit an enemy. And then if they hit you back, you can substitute and you can pick where you go instead, and then you can counter with like a magic. It's super cool.
Do you remember what I called Naruto when you guys first brought it up to me?
I don't know, Dragon Ball Z.
No, remember how I described the main character?
No, I don't. Elaborate.
It was a blonde boy with cat face or something like that.
And what? Eric took massive offense to that or something.
I think so. Yeah, it was like you guys are talking about. It's like, is that the blonde or the blonde ninja with cat attacks? I think I said, or something. And you guys had to explain to me what Naruto was.
After explaining what anime was.
Yeah. So you put pen to paper and
it's just Japanese cartoons. No, it's not.
It's more. I tell you.
It's more than that. I think maybe it was Path of the Ninja. Apparently this came out, but I don't think it was this. It doesn't look 100% like the game I played. Maybe I'm just being too dramatic here, but whatever. But yeah.
All right, great question. I'm sure knowing BioPhoenix, you'd probably think of a million different games that I can't even pronounce.
Slamming his keyboard right now.
Yeah,
what the fuck?
Yeah, he's pretty pissed.
Yeah.
Oh well. Next question. Alex is back.
From TurboZone?
From TurboZone. Make sure you check out TurboZone's channel. He just recently did an interview with me. He interviewed me on his channel. And
you guys talk about anime?
No, but I went on his channel where he calls the people that watch it geeks and gamers, and I went on a rant about how I hate nerds and geeks.
And he's just looking at the camera like,
yeah, I'm sure I endeared myself to his audience.
Yeah, they love you now.
They're like, I gotta subscribe to that guy.
I can't wait to see more shitty opinions from that guy.
He asks, if you could hand Pokemon off to any other development team, who would you give it to?
CD Projekt Red. And not for the reason that everyone's thinking. I would just want a different take on Pokemon. I'd want something more gritty. And I think they'd be able to do it. Bugs aside, because it's low-hanging fruit at this point. I think we haven't really had a true... Like, give me a Skyrim-esque Pokemon game. I think a lot of people have been saying that. It's like, give me a huge-ass thing that combines all these different regions, and Pokemon have to be found in specific areas, and just watch it print money. Give it... I know the appeal is like the anime style. It's not the Western style at all, right? It's more of that anime style focus and all that other stuff. But if you... Ash, I don't know if you heard, Ash is retiring as the main character of Pokemon. They're bringing... Old. Yeah. It's like, these jeans aren't fitting like they used to. But literally, this dude is the definition of hit it and quit it. Because as soon as he gets his championship, he's like, I'm out. I'm retiring. I'm sick of this shit. You gotta wonder what the inner turmoil, what inner turmoil he was going through. But a new generation, a new audience, a new game style. I say give it to regardless of what you say about like Cyberpunk, and The Witcher really didn't get as much flack, but those worlds definitely feel more alive, or at least uh, they feel like they're themed better than some other games I've played. Like I told you about Far Cry, I couldn't fucking play it. And that's based on real life, situations and shit. So,
Mhm.
these fantasy worlds that people can come up with are oftentimes just have more depth to them. And I say, why not? You could totally do. I don't know all the regions. Is like Kanto and Johto and all that stuff, right? Those
Yeah,
are
yeah.
so you could do that kind of Pokemon, or you could do Pokemon before, like remember that the guy who had Raichu, the Colonel, I forget his name, or
Lieutenant
Lieutenant.
Surge.
Yeah, Lieutenant Surge. You could totally, because he was in a war, you could totally be like, hey, we're gonna do Pokemon and talk about this war that Lieutenant Surge was referring to, with Pokemon and stuff like that, and turn that into a game. And there you go. There's conflict, so you got to solve quests, but also there's wild Pokemon. And then you have to balance the moral decisions of I am putting these dudes into indentured servitude to me to fight based on my beliefs. Like it makes you question yourself. I'm getting deep here, right? Just printing money. That's all I do. So I say go with that. Give me CD Projekt Red for that. You could say Bethesda, but it's going to take 20 years before the game drops. So I yeah, I don't know about that. but yeah, CD Projekt Red.
I would say, uh, I think I would say, do they? Does Crystal Dynamics still exist, or did they get like
Um,
completely destroyed
they were bought out, but I think
and then
they're
sold?
only responsible for like the Hitman IO. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
those mobile ones, I believe. Let me triple check.
Well, basically, what I want is Tomb Raider.
But with Pokemon,
Yeah, because I think you can take that concept of like you can specialize in certain types in certain areas, and really what that would be is the HMs
Mhm.
to get around an environment, and then the battling is you can keep it turn based. I don't really give a shit about the battles,
So
but
they're still around, but they were exclusively publishing for Square Enix for quite some time. They did Avengers, um, Perfect Dark, but a newer one, yeah, and then a new Tomb Raider game. So yeah, they're still alive. Weirdly enough.
yeah, I would do them, and then you can maneuver around using your Pokemon. Like if you wanted to do like Rock Smash, you could get through some certain rocks, but make it
Yeah,
in 3D. So it's the 3D game that we always wanted that wasn't Pokemon Snap.
yeah. I'm not even a part of that community, and I know that's like one of the biggest things that people want is like a real immersive 3D like world.
Yeah, the newest one is the closest.
Yeah, yeah.
It's clearly an attempt that it's like 20 years too late, but also it's just not. It still doesn't really feel like a fully immersive 3D game. Like I want the trees to like I want to walk through trees. That sounds romantic, huh?
I
Like
don't know.
I want to walk through the trees, the forests, like
I consider that a good date.
walk
Yeah.
along the river with my Squirtle.
Yeah.
And
Squirrel Squad.
instead it just doesn't it feels like I'm traversing an overworld map.
I have a theory on that. I believe there's a lot of pacing going on with that, but pacing in it poor pacing in the sense that they're taking forever to slowly, uh, like I guess, up the features of their games.
Mhm.
Like all they had to do in the past was just add more Pokemon and change up the scenery, and people are like, "Yeah, I'll buy that shit." So I think they're pacing themselves slowly because they don't want to blow their load too soon. But at this point, they're so fucking late that getting a 3D world is like, "Isn't this great?" And you're like, "No, there's plenty of other games that have done more with that." It's strange.
Yeah, well, when they released this game, they're like, we finally did it, a fully 3D world. And they're like, isn't that great? And I said, I'm 34.
No,
I'm 34
no, it's
years
not
old.
great. You had me at fucking 10, and you should have, and you didn't. GameCube was the perfect time to do it because that's when they were still actually quote unquote competing. And it would have, that was a lot of people's childhood. You know, you could have totally built a franchise off of making a more fleshed out 3D world off that. Could you imagine Wind Waker, but with Pokemon? And
Ooh.
less sailing, but yeah, dude, they could have did it. Is my theory. They could have always done it. They've just refused to do it. Whether that be your argument on the philosophy of Japanese developers, or whether that be anything else, they could have done it. Is my thing. So.
I read an article that Game Freak likes to like rehire all their staff every time they make a new Pokemon game. I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea. They say it's to keep everything fresh. I say it's probably just I don't know.
To keep it fresh, get the fuck out of here. If I knew I was getting hired again for the next game, I wouldn't keep it fresh. I'd be like, yo, I'm gonna do the same thing that guarantees me this job. Whatever the fuck they want to do.
You know, it sounds more like they're like they hired people for the first one, and then they're like, we could do this, 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 and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this with a bigger budget. And they're like, let's start fresh.
First off, you're fired.
Yeah.
Moving on. So, yeah, jeez.
We'll do one of those. Bye.
In 20 years.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Oh, Pokemon. All right. Let's pay some bills.
Never change, literally.
Yeah, we know you won't. So just we gotta pay some bills. Ever wanted to eat the Hanson twins? How about the Dixie Chicks? Now you can with Famous Crackers, the first brand of crackers that brings celebrities to life in cracker form. Choose from a wide range of celebrities, from Tom Hanks to Billy Crystal to Sarah Palin to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and they'll create a cracker in their likeness for your edible enjoyment. You can order entire bands like Nirvana or the Beatles, or the cast of your favorite show like MASH. Famous Crackers can even do B-list celebrities like Pauly Shore and William Hung. Visit www.famouscrackers.com and use the coupon code ARCHIVE to get 50% off your first purchase. And remember, don't eat like a celebrity, just eat a celebrity. Wow. Get your Famous Crackers today. All right, our next Q&A question is from Teddy, aka Majority. Make sure you check out his channel and subscribe to it. He asks, how does content creation affect your perception of RPGs? Oh boy, ain't that the doozy.
I would just say games in general.
Yeah, for you, just pick games in general. How does it affect how you look at gaming?
I mean, you look at it more from a standpoint of what can you get out of it, as opposed to just entirely the experience. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of these games that I'm looking at are games I've already played before. So really, it's more revitalizing the love or hatred, in some cases, of those games, and bringing it pen to paper. It's actually, ironically enough, it's being more productive with the same material that you've already experienced. I could understand if it's a game I never played before and I'm doing it, because then it feels like I'm just trying to, I wouldn't even say exploit, like, because it's not really a bad thing. It focuses more on just being about, like, all right, what do I get? What can I get out of it? Like, for instance, I'm looking at my Steam library right now. I've played through all the Arkham series at this point. If I went back and I played through them for Boss Rush, which I might, maybe subscribe. There's a strong chance that I would get more out of it the second time around, because I'm being more in depth with it. I'm talking more about it. I'm appreciating the nuances of that game more, but in that same vein, I could have a game like Vanquish, which will be on the channel eventually, that I actually haven't played. That, um, it might come off like I'm just, all right, this is just content. Like, I don't know if I like using that term either. Just content, because it comes off as more superficial than just being like, hey, I'm replaying this and I'm bringing to light these often neglected elements of it. So I don't know. I think it depends on the kind of game that you're playing. Like if you did RPG Archive on Dark Souls 2, that's going to be different from you doing an RPG Archive on Bloodborne. Right? One you played, one you haven't, one you have an appreciation for, one you don't know if you do yet, So it's I think it depends. It's very context sensitive.
Yeah, I think it's been positive in how I mean I look at RPGs as something I have to finish as opposed to something I can casually toss off.
Yeah.
Which I did plenty of times before. There's RPGs are very long, so pacing definitely is something I look at a lot more now. Like, is this ending? Because RPGs tend to drag out their endings quite a lot.
Sure.
And it's like, does this ending make me satisfied, or is it just like pissing me off? And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But in general, I think it's way, way positive. It makes me play a lot of things. Sometimes it takes me out of my comfort zone. Parasite Eve was something I never thought I would ever play. But
that shit was nice.
Yeah, it was good.
The ending, it still got me. Jumped out of the fucking helicopter on fire.
Yeah.
Anyway, good music, good times, but yeah, it gets you out of your comfort zone. Yeah. That's a very good point.
And it helps me appreciate the hobby that I spend so much time on, and it gives it almost a focus. Yeah. Something I can speak to.
I'll tell you what, I would have never come to appreciate Chrono Trigger if it wasn't for you. And being like, hey, or can you do this for the video? And then me playing through it and being like, you know what? Shit was pretty nice. It was pretty good. Better than Chrono Cross. And I love Chrono Cross. So it's hey, you learn more about yourself sometimes in these things. So
True.
You can't really I mean, in the world we live in, everyone's like doomsayers half the time, but honestly, it's more positive than negative, if anything.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always disappointed when I hear people when I get the sense that people want something to be bad. I get disappointed with that.
Yeah. I mean, you can be like, hey, I have an educated guess. I'm not going to be a fan of this because of A, B, and C. But really, how are you going to know until you try it? I would have hated Knights of the Old Republic if I'd played it when it came out. Right when it came out, because I was playing Neverwinter Nights at that point, and I fucking hated that game because I was like, I don't understand what's going on, but I was a huge Star Wars fan, but if I played it, I would have been like, I don't get it, and I would put it down. I need to mature a little bit and then come back and play it. So
there you go. Next we have Miguel Anito. He's Maltamaster. Sure you check out his channel too. He's looking like a rock star in his little question here. So I think his band is on Facebook. Wish I could give you more. I can't remember the name of their band. It's Alkaline Trio. But he's definitely 80s inspired. He's very cool. Go to Maltamaster's channel and ask him. He'll tell you and he'll hook you up. His question is, what's better, Rareware or Square Enix?
Square, in my opinion. That's just me. I'm biased though.
Yeah, Square Enix as well. Rare was cool in like the before 2000, and then after 2000, ish, whatever. You could say like I don't know exactly when games came out, but basically from N64 and before they're great, and then post N64, just as a generality, not so great. So
there you go. It's pretty concisive answer. Yeah, I mean, sorry. That's a boring answer, and I don't really care to elaborate too much more on it. It's
No.
just it's personal preference. I would say Square.
If you want more deep dives on that, we did a whole section of it in Button Mappers. We had Rare Month, and we tackled a lot of that in there. So,
What was your favorite part about Rare Month?
but Rare Month, um, what did we end up playing for Rare Month? Was it Banjo Kazooie?
I think you did because you're telling me about it. Or did you play Banjo Tooie was also from Rare, right?
Banjo Tooie is something we're not allowed to talk about.
Oh, okay. You do your thing.
We were supposed to play it at one point, and
Yeah.
plans changed. Oh yes, plans changed.
hmm
So what did we play for Rare Month? It wasn't Banjo Kazooie. Banjo Kazooie we did for a different month, I think. And we played.
Like platformers or something.
It might have been for something like that. Let me see. They'll yell at me if I don't get this right. Button Mappers.
Conkers? Was it Conkers?
It was not Conquer.
Oh.
It was. Oh, I think I know what it was. Let me check. Let me just make sure.
Mm.
We always want to be factually correct. It was Donkey Kong Country 3.
All right. All right. Good times.
It's always a fart in church, right?
Yeah. Shit. Yeah. I don't even. Okay. I don't know if it's even a fair argument to say which one is more. Which one do you care about, or which one do you like more between Rare and Square Enix? Because one has continued to adapt as a company, the other one, in my opinion, not so much. So
The other
I
one is
look at it.
Rare.
Yeah, the other one is Rare. Man, focus, please. This is anyway. Yeah, the other one is Rare. So, but you know, and I'm a fighting game enthusiast, and I like Killer Instinct, and even me, I'm still gonna say Square, who has not produced even a decent fighting game. Air Guys is not a decent fighting game.
Oh, come on now.
I love Air Guys, but let's not lie to ourselves here. It's not Air Guys. As that fighting game. Let me reset my world.
Okay, well, while you do that, it's time for another ad read, JD. I'm going to forward it over to you.
Okay.
All right. Let's try to make this, all right.
You gotta be fucking shitting me.
Go ahead.
I don't know if I want to say this, dude. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Go ahead. We got to pay those bills, dude.
I'm serious. I don't think I want to say this.
Oh, my God.
This one's a bit rough, dude.
Well, who is it for?
Not your audience. I can tell you that. This is for churchgoers. We'll just say that.
Okay.
Churchgoers. Bible enthusiasts.
Okay. Well, we don't have to market them.
I don't want to market those guys.
All right. Let's skip ahead now. Let me go on to the next question. He says, Miguel, he being Miguel, he's asking several questions now. How do you access post-game content in Dragon Quest IX in 2022? Now, I see what he's doing here. He's being a bit of a troublemaker.
He's been a little cheeky.
The next question is, what was the best-selling Dragon Quest for 8 years? How well did Otarian Odyssey sell? Misspelled
Does
that.
he mean Etrian?
He means Etrian Odyssey. He's putting names of my videos in the question.
Shame. Which you would know if you subscribe to the channel.
Absolutely would. Miguel, I apologize, but I'm going to have to ban you for 2 months for what you've done.
Two, count them, two.
2 months. Timeout, Miguel Anito. Oh, it says I'm only limited to 1 week. Well, you're out for a week. This is a temporary one. I guess I'll put something more permanent later. But yes, 1 week you're banned, and bad questions. So you did that to yourself. Make sure you improve those questions next time. All right.
Hey, be better. All right.
Yeah.
That's what our new father figure Kratos says. All right. Don't be sorry. Be better.
Boom. Life lessons from Kratos.
You'd be surprised. He's spitting in that game. He is spitting.
All right. Teddy's asking again for Majority. What RPG multi-packs are you aware of? Think the Dragon Quest 1+2 cart for Game Boy Color.
The Final Fantasy anthology. That's actually how I played Final Fantasy 4, and I think was it 4 and Chrono Trigger?
No.
Was it 4 and 5?
I think it's 4 and 5.
There was one that had Chrono Trigger with it.
Yeah, that was I think I have that downstairs actually, but it's Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy 6.
Yeah, so I had both of those. I think it was my dad. Bought both of those pretty much back to back. And those are pretty much the reason why I like RPGs, because after I don't know if my brother beat Final Fantasy 7 by then. I was not playing RPGs at that point. I was just watching him. But Final Fantasy 4 and 5, you could play 2 players on those. So that's when I realized, hey, well, 5. I'm pretty sure 4, but definitely 5. And that's when I realized I actually like RPGs. Because otherwise...
Oh, I'm totally wrong. I'm totally wrong, by the way.
4 and Trigger?
I believe so. Anthology was 5 and 6.
5 and 6, and then 4 and Chrono Trigger. Because we had never... when I was younger, my brother let our neighbors borrow our Sega Saturn and Tomb Raider, so he could borrow their SNES? Is that SNES or NES? And Chrono Trigger.
Yeah,
I remember getting mad at him. It's like, what are you doing? I think I was just because it was a lot and they were moving soon, and I was like, they better give it back before they move. But
yeah, Chronicles is 4 and Chrono Trigger, yeah.
Yeah, and that's when they had the different endings that were animated, and that's when I was like, oh wow, this is pretty neat stuff. And I was already a Dragon Ball fan at that point, so Akira Toriyama, designs were in my head. So none of that stuff looked weird to me at all. I was like, oh, that guy looks like Goku. It's obviously not, but it looks pretty Goku-esque. He's, how old is he? 13, 14? He got them muscles. Okay.
He's swole.
Yeah, he's swole. Steroids at a young age will do that to you. But I have those to thank for me even liking RPGs in general. So
let's see. They're not as common now because you can just bundle everything in like eShops or digital shops.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really make as much sense. But like Final Fantasy 10 and 12, 10 and 10-2 got packaged together a lot for obvious reasons.
What are those reasons? Okay. I know.
Hot pants. And then the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. I guess again it's digital, but you can bundle them.
Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to think of more older.
Were there not Persona bundles?
I don't know.
That's interesting.
So. Maybe. There's actually some from NIS America that still get released. They've been bundling like 2 lately, but they're so obscure. They're these like really obscure RPGs / I think sometimes even beyond that. But those are interesting. I'm sure I think there was some Dragon Quest bundles on Famicom. I think it might have been 1+2, which is the same as the Game Boy one.
Gotcha.
I think. Don't quote me on that, but
quoted.
quoted right here. Yeah.
On this day of our Lord, 2022.
I don't know. Are there more? Oh, there was in Japan only. I think I played a translation of it, but just for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Um, it was Xenosaga 1 and 2 on the DS,
Okay.
which was like pretty crazy that they made that game on the DS, but I
That's
wanted to play it.
It's a long ass game to get through.
Yeah.
Mainly for the cutscenes, to be honest.
Yeah. So I wish that would get translated. That could be an answer from a previous thing. Officially. I don't know. That might be all that I know of off the top of my head. I'm sure there were more.
Yeah.
The Sega Genesis collection, I'm sure, has.
Oh yeah, the entire thing. It's 99 cents per game, so it's pretty sweet deal if you're trying to relive your childhood. I mean, in total, it's like what, $80, but the fact that you can get them individually. I've never played fucking Altered Beast.
Like Phantasy Star, like because they have
Yeah,
the
Phantasy Star
Stars, and then
1 and 2.
Shining
Yeah.
Force.
Shining Force, yeah. You live with Eric and he'll talk your ear off about Shining Force. Great games, just not for me. But
Yeah, he used to tell me about. He's like, you can get a turtle, and he's like one of the best characters. I was like, that's wonderful.
hey, you can't argue when Chrono Trigger's got Frog, man. It's like, all right, I guess another reptilian, sure, why not?
Yeah, but your Frog is a reference to old medieval tales of the frog. You kiss a frog, he turns.
I'm sure the turtles got some relevance. They didn't just go slap a turtle on that bitch and call it a day.
I think they did.
I don't know about that. They also had birds too. You can't forget about that. They had birds as characters.
Can't forget that.
Oh, I was like, how do y'all mate? You guys look disgusting. Like, what the fuck? That's beyond me.
Uh-oh. We're at the bottom here. Hold on. Okay. And then finally, our last question. We're skipping Miguel's because he is banned. But our last question is from you. You're listed here as your boy JD, but again, make sure you check out Lazy Justice on YouTube.
I mean, I should probably clarify that on channel. Like, yeah, I am JD, but the entity is really just Lazy Justice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could say that I am because I'm the only person in it right now. But I mean, if there's any modicum of success to where I have like a team or something like that, then that's what the team would be Lazy Justice.
Yeah.
But I'm always your boy and forever.
Oh,
Dang.
I'm gonna cry.
All right, one at a time though, because I thought about these and I'm like, I can't believe they're not even asking these questions because I'd ask these questions. But yeah.
Okay, past or present, what is a major turnoff for you regarding RPGs?
Yeah, what's something that you load the game up, right? And it could be something really minor, right? You could be picky. You're like for me, chibi characters, right? You know this. I can't stand chibi characters or cutesy characters. So if there's like a character that like, you know, because they dub most RPGs nowadays that have voice acting and stuff. If there's a character that has like a cutesy voice and shit like that, nah, man. Nah, that's like that's like nails on a chalkboard. I don't like hearing that shit. I will mute it. I will mute the game, and you've lost me. Especially if that character's the main character, or they show up all the time. Fuck off. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like I couldn't even stand playing when I was playing it, Genshin Impact, because Paimon was just so fucking annoying. I was like, I know some people really like it, and I'm probably gonna get destroyed. I just don't like hearing the voice. It's too squeaky for me. But it could be features too. It could be anything. It's just something that you immediately go, ugh, and you just want to stop.
Mine is going to be controversial, and we're actually going to talk about it more in a second when we get to your next question.
No,
but
I mean,
But I will say that it is talking.
Too much dialogue.
Too much dialogue.
Fair.
Uh, man, those FromSoft people know how to do it, dude.
Talk to him 3 times and that's it.
Yeah.
Don't talk to him for a while. Come back later.
Dude, when you boot up, it's usually JRPGs. When you boot them up and they're like, all right, we got this awesome world for you to explore. But first, you
An
have
hour of
you have to know why the king of Arbala feels angry at the king of Bubudaga, and you have to know why his daughter is escaping with the help of the Onion Clan. That is, you have to know their backstory, and you have to know. It's like, oh my fucking Christ! Like,
rough.
wait, why don't you just let me play the game? Like, that's one of my things. Like Soul Hackers 2, I enjoy the game.
Mhm.
I'll probably go back to playing it more. There is so much talking about like if you want to make a movie, just make a movie. If you want to make a game where I play and do stuff, then let's play a game here. Let's not
Yeah.
the medium, and I think there's still confusion about the medium of video games. It's like it's a place where you play things and you interact with things.
Yeah.
I don't want you to just tell me a story. That's
Yeah.
not gaming to me. That's why I like
There
Dragon Quest. It's very little.
Very
You,
little story.
yeah, you fill in
Well,
the blanks.
what's interesting, I mean, there's definitely a market for it, right? Like we played Man of Medan. You could talk about Until Dawn. Like those games are really not all that interactive. They're a one and done style. Detroit Become Human. Walking Dead. Like those games are one and done usually. But like even with RPGs, one thing I found the difference, the reason why I have, I think, 50 hours or 60 hours in Tales of Arise and like 20 hours in Star Ocean is by the way they handle their dialogue. You
Mm.
know, in Tales of Arise and Star Ocean, they're fully voice acted. I mean, like 90% voice acted, right? The difference is if I hit A in Tales of Arise, it skips to the next voice acting scene. In Star Ocean, I have to skip the entire cutscene.
Mm.
So I can read what's happening. Like I watch movies generally with subtitles on. Like I think that's just a product of me uh watching anime growing up, or like in my mom's case, my mom watched a lot of like dramas that were subtitled, Korean dramas primarily, growing up. So I'm used to reading the subtitles, and I used to watch foreign films all the time growing up myself. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me though, I mean, the pacing on those is different, right? On movies, it's different.
Hmm.
For games, if I'm spending an hour before I even get into your game, like there's nothing that's gonna make me invest in them. There's nothing that's gonna make me go into that, or be more excited to go into that. I don't care about what happened to the king because it doesn't explain the relevance to me. Why should I care is a more appropriate thing that people should be, or developers should be questioning. And I find it's more common with with Japanese developing companies where they front end the stuff instead of like, hey, we want to have subtlety. I'm not saying every single one does it. I'm not saying Western developers are just perfect at it. I'm just saying it's more commonplace that I've seen for like JRPGs where it's just like front loaded. Tales of Arise was pretty front loaded, all things considered. It wasn't like horribly front loaded, but it comes back to that same thing. If I have to spend an hour or, even 30 minutes is too much. If there's no hook, you're on YouTube. If there's no hook in that first, 10 seconds, what's to stop me from clicking off? If there's nothing that gauges my interest. So I look at stuff like that, and that's a very good point that you mentioned that, because I didn't even think of that. I look at stuff like that and I go, well, I mean, that's a huge like barrier preventing people from getting into your game. How do you make that better? How do you optimize that?
Yeah, there's nothing worse than like the auteur, uh, auteur storyteller in video games, It's like,
Oh.
trust me,
I'm
you're
the
gonna
next Kojima.
you're gonna love this story when it pops off in
Yeah.
in 30 hours. You're gonna be like blown away. It's like I'm not gonna make it, dude.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be awake in 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, a good example, Pathfinder, or Pathfinder Kingmaker. Maybe I'm saying that backwards. That game starts you off immediately with like zero context. You're in this area, and it's like, oh, we need two people to do two groups to do this expedition, and then the place gets attacked, and before anything gets resolved, and your actions in saving, it's the beginning. So it's I'm not spoiling anything here. Your actions in saving, how you save people, and your stats dictate who ends up in your party at the beginning. So you're already getting relevance for your created character,
Right.
and you're getting drama too, because if you do something that someone doesn't like, they're gonna accuse you in front of this person that you were all standing in front of, like this king. And it's like, oh shit. And if you don't have like good diplomacy or something like that, and you can't talk your way out of it, you're left with that. You have to deal with it. So that brings relevancy to your character, right? Brings relevancy to the people in your party because they believe that they would follow that kind of person. It's just a better example
Right.
of making it more interesting.
Yeah, you just do it through gameplay, it should be. I mean, at this stage of video games, that should be common knowledge. That should just be part of the gaming language. Is you do things through gameplay.
Yeah.
And then when you
Yeah.
don't do that, it just pisses me off, and I lose a lot of interest. Because I honestly, because it's gonna come up to the next question that you have.
Yeah.
So I guess are you good if I ask that question?
I was just gonna say, I do believe that I know you don't need a degree to get into game design, but I think there should be some standards set, because there are plenty of people that get into game design that don't know how to tell a story. And when they do when you do get a game that does tell a story appropriately versus one that doesn't, it really is night and day.
Mm-hmm.
Or I mean, not to say that that you always have to be telling the most compelling story. Your story could be very minimal, right? You can have a Souls situation where it's left to the interpretation of the audience, and it's dependent on their experience and stuff and how they piece it together. But there should definitely be standards, and there aren't any right now. All right, we had the ESRB created because of violence in video games, right? Mortal Kombat specifically. Why can't we have some sort of standards of video game creation? Because it seems like every company is on their own shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like there should be some global standard where it's like, hey, we're not going to release shit like this because it's dumb and it's proven to not be effective. And here's the statistics showing that.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a thing.
I agree. Your next question is gameplay or story more important in RPGs? And again, that kind of ties into what I was saying before, but gameplay, by leaps and bounds, to me, is more important than story in gameplay, or story in RPGs. In fact, tied to what I was saying before, I honestly don't give a shit about your story. I don't give two shits what the story is, unless the gameplay is good. If the gameplay is not good, what's the point? Why am I gonna care what happens from this to this? The story should be told through the gameplay. So
it's fair.
So I've played games with no story. I mean, Dragon Quest 1, your job is to kill the Dragon Lord and maybe save the princess if you want to.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no more story beyond that. And it's fine. The game is, it's not the best game ever, but it's fine. World of Warcraft, love the game. I couldn't tell you two things that happen in that game. The quest log pops up and I say accept.
There you go. All right, where's the marker at?
Yeah, you want wolves? I'll get you wolves.
I'll get your fucking wolves. 20 wolf pelts? All right, I'll be here tomorrow.
It's like, but he's making the wolf pelts for his grandma, I don't care. I don't care.
Okay.
As long
Like,
as
but this is a callback to
yeah.
the level 3 mission. I don't care. I don't care.
If you're giving me experience and gold, and I'm giving you these wolf pelts, that's the end of our transaction.
Yeah, I was gonna say purely transactional. All right, I don't care about your trials and tribulations, your struggles, your hopes and dreams. Fuck off. Give me my experience and gold.
And you know what it is? Though? It's because most stories in video games, we've had this conversation so many times, but most
Just more on the broad sense of video games, not
yeah,
specific RPGs. Yeah,
most stories in video games are trash. Quite frankly, they're trash. There's only been a couple stories that I think are actually good, and that I haven't played every game, so whatever. Um, and to me, it's always been The Last of Us Part 1 and Metal Gear Solid 3, and then they just kind of fall from there. You can
yeah,
put
they build up.
you can put God of War up there, I guess. Sure, I
I
haven't
mean,
I
it's
haven't
very
finished
similar to
two.
Last of Us. Very
Right?
similar to Last of Us in the familial like relationship bonding thing.
Yeah.
But as far as like the character building, um, or I guess tropes, not character building. As far as tropes go, it does stand on its own in that sense. But yeah, it still does peel from those aspects of like Last of Us and stuff. Whether they want to admit it or not, someone did it beforehand. It's
Right.
literally Simpsons did it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and,
Yeah.
and story, I think it gets confusing to people because story to me, I think what a lot of people are talking about is plot. I think they're saying, does the story have a good, or does the game have a good plot? Which is events that happen in a sequential order based on the characters or whatever. A story to me is like, what's the theme that it's trying to tell you, and what's the message at the end, and what's it trying to say about life? That to me is what story is. And
Life, the characters, the circumstances, something.
most games, like, what's the plot of Final Fantasy VII? Oh, they go to Midgard, and they're doing whatever. They're fighting the evil corporation, and they break out of there, and they do that. That's the plot. What's the story of Final Fantasy VII? I don't fucking know. It's like it's a story about. That's what you just say. It's a story about knowing your true yourself.
I mean, you could. I mean, if we're talking theming, yeah, you could say that. You could also say corporations are evil and they want to destroy the world because Shinra had so many times to be the good guys, they continue to be the bad guys. Okay, I get it. All right,
yeah.
Shinra,
The story is capitalism is evil. Now buy this game that we've created
this
for
game.
you.
Yes, in a capitalistic society.
All right.
Oh man, good times. So to that, the reason why I brought that up is so I've played in this last year. I've actually opened up and played visual novels before.
Okay.
First time ever. So I played Doki Doki, which is a fucking trip.
Right.
But the thing is there's like no gameplay. It's just story.
Yeah.
On it. And what my argument in my opinion is that it is very dependent, and yeah, Doki Doki is not an RPG, but it's very dependent on the strength of the story. Games can exist without a story at the end of the day. You just need a narrative, a direction, that's it. And if you're arguing with me about that, I'm not the one that said that. All right, it's your favorite Mario creator that said that. And he's
right.
proving his point by the games that he made.
He's 100% right.
So don't argue with me. I ain't the one that said it. I'm just echoing it. But more specific to that, though, is games can exist without story, but games can't exist without gameplay. And it really comes down to what you define as acceptable gameplay and what you feel is engaging enough for you to consider gameplay. And you know, with that, like, remember that game? Because hey, we've talked about this a lot. Remember that game Gone Home? Mm-hmm. The argument was, is that considered a game? Because there's no game over in that game. You're progressing. You're constantly progressing. In certain terms, they would call that, I forget the term for like visual novels or whatever, where it's like there are really no choices. You're just playing off a story based on how the creator interprets it. It's you have no say in any variety, no variables at play, nothing like that. And those I find that's boring, right? Because it's like it doesn't feel unless it's an engaging story, it doesn't feel like you're actually involved in it. It doesn't feel like you're interacting with anything. So I would say it really is dependent on, is the game able to stand on one, is it so strong in one element that it doesn't need the other, is kind of the thing. But it's much easier to do it from the gameplay sense because interactivity is just going to have that advantage. It's the only medium, right? Games are the only medium that we are able to be interactive. Troy hit me up one time talking about the what was that Netflix thing, Undertaker and the New Day. The New Day are running from the Undertaker. And it's interactive. And I was like, he's like, hey, I heard this is your shit. I was like, that is definitely not my shit. Not in the least. I love New Day. Undertaker's. But I will say, fucking rest in peace. But I will say, like, I feel like that is not enough to stand on its own. So it doesn't get it. There was a Black Mirror interactive thing on Netflix. It's the same thing. If those are technically them trying to merge that medium together, but have more of an emphasis on the movie side or the story side as opposed to the gameplay side. Mm-hmm. And in those senses too, it's like if the story can stand on its own, then it's fine. If the story can't stand on its own and your gameplay sucks, you just have a bad game. At the end of the day, it's not like, oh, let's look at analytics. No, your game just sucks because your story sucks. So I'm not interested in continuing the gameplay, and your gameplay sucks. So I don't even want to play that. So mm-hmm. It's an interesting thing, and looking at it from the lens of RPGs, that's actually the reason why I stopped playing Star Ocean. I know. We just did a Game of the Year thing on it. I don't give a fuck about the politics on a planet I'm not from. I don't give a shit. They're like, oh man, now you got to go here and help stop this war. No, I don't give a fuck. I don't
care that'd be so great if you're on like you arrive at this planet, you like land your ship down. I don't know anything about Star Wars, but you land your ship down on a planet, and there's like 3 slugs that approach your ship. And they're like, the master slug has decided that all of us slugs will be bathed in salt and we'll all explode the rest of our lives and it'll be over. I'll be like, all right, bye. And I get in my ship and just fly back away.
No Man's Sky up in here, man. I'm out. There's how many other planets I can go to? I don't give a fuck, man. I mean, that's my opinion, but I've also played games that have better gameplay in my opinion. I had more fun playing Devil May Cry, and that story is ass, straight garbage. Because the focus of it is really the gameplay, which is the height of it. Is the more appealing element of it to me. I would argue I had the most fun in a action RPG in Tales of Symphonia specifically. Mainly because you could play 4 players with it, which is, hey, it's a party. But I don't see the appeal of of action RPGs that don't build on. I mean, I could argue this on Kingdom Hearts, man. Had a hard time beating that game because I didn't give a fuck about people's hearts and their fucking nobodies and the themes of Disney. Like, I love Disney, right? Like, I'm cool with Disney and I'm cool with Final Fantasy, but not only did I outgrow that game, in my opinion, but I also didn't care for the gameplay itself. So it was really hard for me to beat a game like that. It's you have to bring people in, I feel, and the game. If you lean more into gameplay, it's just going to be easier.
I agree.
Fuck the slug people, man.
Fuck them slugs. That's it for Q&A today.
Okay. You want me to say something?
We'd like more questions, so make sure you put them in the section below where it says Q&A in the Discord. Yes. So if you have anything to say, if you have any comments, about what we've said today? Anything you disagree with? I'm sure you do. You can put them in the comments below, and we'll look at them and yeah. So
Maybe a themed Q&A.
oh yeah, going forward in general,
Yeah.
you can put whatever you want now, but there will be a timed thing where they'll be themed. I would expect the next one. I was waiting for Teddy to do something, which will be obvious soon, but it'd probably be Dragon Quest themed. Will be the next one.
All right, so I'll see you on the one after that then. No, good times. I don't even remember the one I played. You know it. I don't remember. Was it 8 with Jessica?
Yeah.
And all them? Yeah. That's the only one I played.
What'd you think of it?
I mean, I liked it, but I bought it for my brother. So I don't even know if he beat it, but I bought it for him for Christmas. And I remember he played it for a hot minute, and then there was a period where he wasn't playing it because it was a PS2 game, and he got the Xbox 360 around that time. He was playing Gears of War, man. Gears era, the first Gears took over everyone's lives. So I don't blame him. Then I wouldn't say it's a knock on the game's quality or anything like that. But that's when I started playing it, and I didn't get too far into it before I got into the military. But yeah, I liked it. I thought it was cool. The only character I remember is Jessica, and unfortunately, it is because of her features. But it's just none of the other characters. The other guy looks like Trunks, right? He has white hair. I forget his fucking name.
Yeah,
and then there's the ugly dude, right?
Yangus.
Yes, yeah, I remember Yangus. How you gonna call your character Yangus and not expect people to dog on this man?
Oi, Gov.
Oi, Gov, listen here, mate. Right. Me and Jermaine over here. Like, all right, whatever. Go off, Angus. Beef.
But you remember Jessica for her fiery red hair.
That's it.
Not her va-va-voom.
Just imagining a slow zoom in. That's all. But yeah. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, theming.
You should play 11 when we get to it.
Why? Because it's an action RPG?
Wow.
Only I'm supposed to be a fan?
Oh my god.
Is that what it is? Maybe I like Dragon Quest Builders. You ever think about that one?
Do you? I'll play that.
I never played it. Maybe. Who knows? Right? It plays like Minecraft, doesn't it?
But no, I mean 11 is fucking good.
Oh, dude, I don't know. I don't have a reference point. You're the only person I know that plays Dragon Quest.
Well, you know Teddy.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I don't know his last name, so I don't. How much do you really know someone if you don't know the last name? But not even my brother played the other Dragon Quests after that, So.
But no, you should totally play 11 once we get to it.
Okay. Yeah, it was a PS4. PC?
It's on all of them. It's on everything.
Okay. I mean, if it's on PC, that's fine. It makes things a whole lot easier.
Yeah. It's the best mix of old and new, old school mechanics with some new school flavor.
Because I don't land on some fucking planet and they start talking about politics. I know that it's not sci-fi, but I'm just saying, so long as it doesn't do that, we're good.
Be a little surprised where it goes.
I won't quit your fucking game then, buddy.
But anyway, that'll be for way later. I don't think we'll get to that next year. It might even be 2024 that we actually get to.
God damn, dude.
We're on.
So games will be out by then.
We're on 6. We're on 6 right now, and we still have to do 7 and 8, and we've already done 9. 10 is an MMO.
Yeah,
and so then 11 will probably be last. So cool. I don't even know if we get to it in 2024.
It depends on how quickly you guys want to work through them,
Yeah.
And that's a tall thing to ask. Aren't those usually like 60 plus?
They're long fucking games.
Yeah.
Especially 7. 7 is like 70 plus hours.
They're built different when they came out then. So you got it. Hey, ball out. I'll be here doing my 1 hour games, my
Yeah.
Streets of Rages, my 5 hour Vanquish games, my 2 hour Gunstar Heroes. I'll do those.
Anyway, make sure you check out JD's channel. He's doing every game that he just mentioned. He'll do every single one. He guarantees it.
Yeah.
And he's pumping out content like you wouldn't believe. Make sure you check out. You did Streets of Rage 1. It was fantastic.
Thank you.
If you want a playthrough of that, make sure you check that out. He'll tell you how to beat all those bosses for you.
Yeah.
All right.
I was gonna say something else. Oh, should I mention what I plan to do with you? Or should we just hold off on that?
Oh, okay.
If you want to, we can hold off on it. Just collaboration. That's all we'll say.
Yeah, no, you can bring it up. Let's do it. That'll make it official.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it'll hold me to it for sure. Yeah, we will also be doing a nice little cross promotion. Use the code LAZY and the code archive to get on this sweet deal, because we're going to be taking a look at Final Fantasy Stranger in Paradise.
And that
is a game.
And that gives you a little spoiler for a game that's coming that we're going to be doing on the channel too in the future.
Oh, really? On your channel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if we're doing Stranger in Paradise.
Oh, I didn't know you were going to put it up on your side. I was just like, hey, I think it'd be cool to get you in on this one.
Well, no. I'm saying Stranger in Paradise obviously is a reference to a certain other game. And that game we'll be doing on the archive.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily you, unless you want to. You're certainly invited, but
yeah, we're talking to code right now, and I've lost my code book, so I don't know.
Final Fantasy 1 at a certain point we're going to.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
With various people that I don't want to announce yet, but yeah.
Gotcha.
That's
I don't know if I want to be a part of that game. Is so watching streamers play that is a trip, especially because they had difficulty then. So. Or they had a difficulty setting, at least.
That game is fun. I don't know. I think it's fun.
It's something. It is something.
It's not hard either. It's incredibly easy.
Very bare bones in comparison to Final Fantasies now. But it'll be cool because then we can also reference some of the elements. For those that don't know, Stranger in Paradise does essentially tell the story of Final Fantasy 1. So it's cool to look at those comparisons. It's cool to look at the artistic reimagining of a lot of these themes and these characters. I'll say that's the game's greatest advantage, or the greatest appeal. So
I mean, the game is Final Fantasy 1 is only like 6 hours long.
Really,
it's not a long game.
It's Saturday morning gaming, man.
Yeah,
you could finish it in the morning if you woke up early. Like, oh, I still got time for breakfast.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, but yeah, that's game we'll be looking at. As far as to a particular date, just keep your eyes and ears open. Maybe subscribe to the channels, both, and go from there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us. We can consider this Q&A archived. I don't even know if that's a tagline you can say for that.
Let's do it. You got it. All out.
All right. Thank you, JD.
Thank you.
And take it easy.